By the late 1920s, the Independent Labour Party had developed into a vital ideological force within the broader British socialist movement. Despite an increasingly strained relationship with the more electorally successful Labour Party, the Independent Labour Party maintained its position as a principled and unwavering champion of ethical socialism. Its leadership believed that the moderate policies and cautious strategies of the mainstream Labour government failed to reflect the deep social reforms needed to transform British society. In response to the disappointing actions of the first Labour government, the Independent Labour Party took the bold step of formulating its own comprehensive political programme, which it hoped would reignite the socialist spirit and provide a clear blueprint for meaningful change. This programme was developed over the course of the year that followed the first Labour government, culminating in the policy conferences held throughout the year when the Independent Labour Party introduced a platform that became known as Socialism in Our Time. The program was designed not as an abstract set of theoretical positions, but as a practical and urgent call for action. Its formulation was led by several prominent intellectuals and activists who had long been affiliated with the Independent Labour Party. Chief among them were Henry Brailsford, John Hobson, and Frank Wise. Together, these thinkers crafted a set of policies that they believed could bring about genuine socialism within the span of a single generation, rather than over the course of many decades. The program itself was structured around 8 principal objectives. Each of these was intended to confront an area of economic or social life where the influence of private capital was most harmful and where public ownership or democratic oversight could bring immediate improvements to the lives of ordinary people. The first of these objectives was the establishment of a living wage. While many industries in Britain paid wages well below what was required for a dignified standard of living, the Independent Labour Party demanded that a living wage be implemented nationally and that it reflect the actual cost of housing, food, and clothing. Though the concept was not entirely new, it had never been pursued with the level of seriousness advocated in the Independent Labour Party's platform. Even so, it was only partially applied in the years that followed, owing largely to opposition from industry and lack of political will. The second point in the program called for a significant increase in the unemployment allowance. The Independent Labour Party recognized that those unable to find work should not be punished for their misfortune. At a time when economic instability was widespread and entire communities were devastated by factory closures and job losses, the existing unemployment support was seen as humiliating and insufficient. The party called for a new system that treated the unemployed with respect and provided adequate financial support to ensure their well-being and reintegration into the workforce. Again, while small adjustments were made to the unemployment allowance during this period, the broader call for structural reform was met with hesitation by the more centrist elements of the Labour Party. The third and perhaps most ambitious point in the programme was the nationalisation of banking. The Independent Labour Party believed that the control of credit and finance was the foundation of capitalist power and that without public control over banking, no meaningful socialist policy could be implemented. The proposal sought to bring major financial institutions under state ownership, thereby allowing for more equitable investment in housing, education, and industry. Though this proposal was supported in principle by many within the party, it remained largely aspirational and was only incompletely applied in practice, even under sympathetic governments. The fourth and fifth components of the program addressed the question of bulk purchasing. The Independent Labour Party proposed that the state should engage in the bulk purchase of raw materials and foodstuffs. This strategy was intended to reduce costs, eliminate middlemen, stabilize markets, and protect consumers. It would also give the government significant leverage in negotiating fair prices and securing the economic interests of the nation as a whole. In addition to these practical benefits, the policy was also rooted in a critique of speculative capitalism and its ability to manipulate prices and create artificial scarcity. Although the idea was innovative and potentially transformative, it found little support among mainstream politicians, who were wary of any policy that might interfere with the free market. The sixth item on the agenda was the nationalization of power. The energy sector had long been dominated by private monopolies, which were often criticized for their inefficiency, high prices, and lack of accountability. The Independent Labour Party envisioned a publicly owned power system that would prioritize public need over private profit and ensure reliable access to energy for all citizens. Likewise, the seventh goal involved the nationalization of transport. This included railways, buses, and shipping services, which were at that time largely controlled by private firms whose interests did not align with the public good. By placing transport in the hands of the state, the party hoped to create an integrated and efficient system that served the needs of both urban and rural communities. Finally, the eighth and most radical plank in the program was the nationalization of land. The Independent Labour Party argued that land ownership was at the root of many social and economic inequalities in Britain. Private landowners profited immensely from rents, speculation, and inheritance while contributing little to the well-being of society. The proposal called for a gradual transfer of land into public ownership, along with reforms to housing policy and land use planning. This measure was intended not only to reduce inequality but also to promote environmental sustainability and democratic access to natural resources. Despite the ambition and clarity of the "Socialism in Our Time" platform, the leadership of the Labour Party was not prepared to support it. Ramsay MacDonald, who had become the de facto leader of the Labour movement, rejected the title of the programme outright. He believed that socialism was not something to be implemented quickly or through sweeping legislative reforms. In his view, socialism was a long-term cultural and economic transformation that could only be achieved through gradual change and coalition building. MacDonald feared that the Independent Labour Party's insistence on rapid transformation would alienate moderate voters and disrupt the fragile balance of power that the Labour Party had managed to establish. The divide between the two organisations deepened during the years of the second Labour government, which held office from the late 1920s through the early 1930s. During this period, over 30 members of Parliament were sponsored by the Independent Labour Party. These members maintained an independent voice in Parliament, often challenging the leadership of the Labour Party and pushing for more radical policies. However, despite their numbers, not a single one of these representatives was appointed to the cabinet. This exclusion further exacerbated tensions and underscored the growing isolation of the Independent Labour Party within the broader Labour movement. In the year that followed the second Labour government's rise to power, the Independent Labour Party held its annual conference and made a pivotal decision. The conference resolved that in cases where the policies of the Labour Party conflicted with those of the Independent Labour Party, members of Parliament sponsored by the Independent Labour Party would be expected to break the parliamentary whip and vote according to Independent Labour Party principles. This decision reflected a final assertion of independence and a commitment to ideological integrity over political expediency. It also marked the beginning of the end for formal cooperation between the two parties. The decision to defy the whip effectively severed the last threads of loyalty that had bound the Independent Labour Party to the Labour Party. It placed the party in a precarious position, politically isolated and without the institutional support that had once helped amplify its message. Yet, to many within the Independent Labour Party, this decision was not only necessary but noble. It reaffirmed their belief in the transformative power of socialism and their unwillingness to compromise on principles for the sake of short-term gains.